Hello, AJ here with Bite Size Digital. Today I want to talk to you about customer lifetime value, what it is, why it's important, and how you can calculate it. So let's get started. So customer lifetime value is the amount of value a customer brings to your business over the course of them being one of your customers, hence the lifetime. And it is important because it's really going to help you decide how much it's worth to spend to get a customer. So it will go into a lot of decisions about how well your marketing's working, how much you should spend on ad spend, how much you should spend on asset development, how much you should spend on customer service, sales. It really is a foundational number for your business that once you get a really good hold on, you can make better decisions for driving your business and growing it more. So there are a few different things to think about when you are trying to calculate customer lifetime value. I've been in a few different industries where they've handled it differently. For some, they've kind of siloed their personas out and given them different customer lifetime values. A great example of this would be in like an auto industry, if you have like your everyday family cars versus your luxury line, and you wanted to know how to market to them separately. Obviously, your luxury cards are going to have a higher lifetime value for them, but it also brings up your average customer lifetime value across the industry so that you can maybe spend a little bit of that luxury money on getting your lower everyday car customers. But that's not every industry. And when it comes to e-commerce, you are going to kind of lump everything together and think about what a customer on a whole brings. It's really only if your businesses are siloed out into very specific sections that you would be able to break down customer lifetime value into those different sections. For the most part, though, you are going to do an average for your whole company. So how do you calculate it? So the first thing is you want to look at the average purchase value. So you want to take all of the purchases a customer has made in the life of your company, or at least with your current offerings. So let's say that you are a service industry and you have daily cleanings, weekly cleanings, and monthly. And you've sold, we're going to stick to easy numbers, you sold one daily cleaning, and that is $30 a day. And they have been a customer for a week. That means that for the 7 days, they would have brought in $210. Maybe the monthly is $100. They've been a client for 5 months, so that's $500. So you have $230, $500, and then your monthly clients, let's say that is $400 a month, and they have been a client for 1 month. So we are at $1130. I think I did my math somewhere, but it's fine. So over those 3 clients, you would then divide the 1130 by 3, which is not a very nice number. So we're going to go back to 300. 300 by 3, the average purchase value is $100 a person. So, very easy. You're totaling up your sales, dividing it by the number of people, and you get a number. It's an average. Averages are nice and not very clean, but they're pretty easy to solve for. The next is the gross margin. So you want to take your total revenue, which in this case would be your purchase value, or whatever money you've brought in, and you want to subtract your cost of sales and then divide by your total revenue, and that's going to give you your margin. The next thing is your purchase frequency. How often are people purchasing with you? This is especially important if they are subscription-based or just like a regular purchase. People, groceries, anything like that. And then the customer lifespan. How long is a customer typically with you? For some industries, that's a very short period of time. People come in, they have one thing, and then they leave. For others, it could be decades that they're with you. We're going to go back to cars. I think of my parents and Subarus. They have been a customer of Subaru for 20 years and had more Subarus than most people have because my mom likes to buy cars. So just how long is the average time customers are with you? Once again, you can do like a real average and pull all your data, or you can do like a sample size if you have a lot of information there, if you've been in business a long time, if you've made a lot of sales, you can kind of just look at, an average. But Excel makes it very easy to do averages, so as detailed as you can get is great. And then the last thing is your customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost you to get a client? If you haven't done much marketing right now, it might not seem like it's a lot to get a client. But you have to think also about the different ways that you go about getting customers. So if you are part of a business group like BNI or LaTip, that cost would go in there, that membership fee. If you are paying for listings on Yelp, or if you are on DoorDash or Grubhub, those would be costs, even though they're not directly advertising. So it's not just that you want to think about your ad spend, you want to think about developing the assets for your ads. How much are you putting into video creation? How much are you putting in towards graphic design? How much are you putting in for copywriting? All of those things add up. And a lot of people just think about it as ad spend. And it's so much more than that. You also have to take your time in there. If you're just starting out, count that in because someone else is eventually going to have to do that job. And you want to make sure that you have that calculated. Because I've seen a lot of times in working with small businesses where they grow and then they hand that off, they hire another employee and they don't adjust the customer lifetime value. And so in their mind, okay, I'm making $1,000 off of every client every year, or I'm making $10,000 over the lifetime of a client and I've got enough clients to hire this other person, but then that means that customer lifetime value needs to be adjusted for that. So you want to make sure that you're including all of your costs in there. And then what you do is you take your average purchase value times your gross margin, times your frequency, times your customer lifespan. And you're going to do that first. And then you want to subtract your customer acquisition cost from that. And that is going to give you your lifetime value. Now, some things to keep in mind that can impact lifetime value that a lot of people don't think about. Using a lot of coupons in your advertising can lower your lifetime value. And then, like I said, hiring new people, buying new tools, all of that can go into it. So you just want to make sure that it's something that you revisit every so often and keep an eye on. It shouldn't change wildly very quickly, but any big changes, moving offices, anything like that, you want to make sure that you're putting that into your cost of acquisition and updating this. So what's the best way to use this? As I mentioned earlier, you do want to make sure that you are keeping this in mind as you are making decisions on how you are acquiring the clients. If you have calculated your customer lifetime value in without ad spend, for instance, and you start spending money on ads, you're going to want to make sure that you are not lowering that too much. So if your customer lifetime value is $50 and it's going to cost you $3 a click, and maybe you're only going to get 4 clients out of all of the clicks that you make, that's going to add up. So what I like to do is, one, I do like to add in how much ad spend I'm willing to spend into my cost of acquisition to adjust for my customer lifetime value. Or when you're looking at it, just make sure you are using benchmarks for your industry about what your conversion rate is going to be and kind of back into that number of what you can afford to spend. And then when you're setting up the ads, make sure that your budget is lower than that threshold. Especially when you're just starting out with advertising, because we have run campaigns for businesses that haven't done any marketing before. And In the first couple campaigns, the conversion rate was lower than the benchmark. As we learned more, that conversion rate goes up and it kind of makes up for it. But you want to make sure you're not shooting yourself in your foot. So the customer lifetime value is really going to be the way that you accurately decide your ad spend. And then when you're looking at return on investment, that customer lifetime value is going to come in play again. When you're looking at how a marketing campaign worked and you're looking at what you spent versus what you made versus how many customers you got, you have to make sure that not only is what you made higher than what you spent, but that you got enough customers at a higher lifetime value to make it worth it. And so that kind of goes back to the looking at it by group. So the luxury versus family line again. You might run an ad campaign and get 20 family cars that make that your customer lifetime value for that car is $20,000. But if you spent, a lot more than that, it's not really worth it. Which is when the breakdowns by bucket can be a lot more handy. So what customer lifetime value can teach you is it can look at your overall customer profitability to see if maybe there's something you shouldn't be offering anymore. If there is a product or service that is not bringing in enough money to justify advertising for it, maybe it's something that you don't need to be doing and don't need to be advertising. It can also help you prioritize, because if you have something that's going to make you a ton more money, get that out the door first and then come back and get kind of the everyday stuff. One of the things that people run into is they've got these high ticket items and they really want to sell them because it's an influx of cash right away. But when you look at the overall lifetime value of the client, sometimes those expensive ones, because of how much it costs to get that, isn't really worth it. And getting the smaller products out the door where it's a numbers game can be more profitable for the company. Also, you want to make sure that you are using it correctly when you're attributing ROI and conversions. Lifetime value can come in handy. I worked in an industry where paid search ads, the customer lifetime value was about $100 lower than the email campaign. Just because the email campaign had more time to explain what they were getting, and so it was a better qualified customer in email. So we really prioritized the email campaigns over the search ads because they were a longer lasting client who actually understood what they were buying into and they wanted to stay on the subscription model. And then also for making sure that you are promoting in the correct channels, it can really help you figure out where your money needs to be spent. So like I said, lifetime value is one piece to kind of making decisions when it comes to advertising for your company. It is a foundational piece. It is something that you should have a handle on before you delve into any sort of paid marketing, but it's not the whole picture. You do need to, take into account a lot of things, one, to calculate it, but also a lot of other things to really serve your business and to help you grow. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below or email me at aj@bitesizedigital.com, and I am happy to answer them. All right, thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.